Earlier on in my dad's life, he used to describe all the things that happened to him as saying that he was under some kind of curse. So whenever something bad happened, he would say, "There it is again, see the curse." He was in the Korean War and lost vision in one eye, and then had to have cataract surgery later on. And then even little things that came along, he would say, "I'm being cursed." But as time went by, he began to stop saying that as much, because I think he started to recognize everything comes from the hand of God. Everything is a blessing. The sisters of Mother Teresa used to go to her and say, "Mother, we have a problem. The refrigerator is broken," or whatever. And she would always say, "Don't say it's a problem. Say we have a blessing, because it's all from the hands of God." So they'd go to her and say, "Mother, we have a blessing. The refrigerator is broken." That is what the Transfiguration is about, though. It reveals the true nature of Jesus and helps the disciples as they are about to witness his suffering and death, to recognize this is all part of God's plan. The Transfiguration occurred 40 days before Good Friday, when Jesus suffered and died. And for us on August 6th, it is 40 days before the Feast of the Triumph of the Cross on September 14th. Jesus predicted to his disciples and told them several times that he was going to have to suffer and be handed over and be put to death, but that he would rise from the dead. But they were so overcome with grief, they couldn't recognize that it was all part of God's plan for the salvation of the world. When he was up on the mountain, he was speaking to Moses, who represented the law of the Old Testament, and Elijah, who represents the prophets. Moses, when he went up on Mount Sinai, spoke to the Lord, and Elijah on Mount Carmel spoke to and listened to the Lord. And so this reveals to us that Jesus is God. He is the Lord who spoke to Moses and Elijah and everyone in the Old Testament. Now he has become man. And he is also revealed as king, just like the vision of Daniel reveals, one like the Son of Man, who is given authority and dominion. But what kind of king is he? He mounts his throne, which is the suffering of the cross. He is crowned not with gold, but with thorns, and holding a reed in his hand rather than a scepter. He is a king of humility and meekness and suffering and death. The words from the cross, then, are the words from the throne of Jesus, with all the authority of God. And so they are more significant than all the other words that Jesus spoke, revealing what are God's final words before he dies. Psalm 22, he quotes, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And later on, if you read that psalm, you see he will go to preach the gospel to the souls of the dead. He says, "I thirst," which means God is thirsting for our love. He shows us his love. He's thirsting for us to respond with love. He says to the good thief, "You will be with me today in paradise," who repented right before he died. He says and points to Mary, "Behold your mother," and so he gives her to us as our spiritual mother. "Into your hands, Lord, I commend my spirit." He entrusts himself into the hands of the Father. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." He takes upon himself all the sins of the world and then says, "Father, forgive them." And finally, it is finished. The work that he was sent to accomplish is complete when he offers himself on the cross for our salvation. The words of God to Jesus on Mount Tabor in the Transfiguration are a repeat of what he heard at his baptism. "You are my beloved Son, with whom I'm well pleased." And these are words that God the Father also says to each one of us. "You are my beloved Son. You are my beloved daughter, with whom I am well pleased." We pray then today that in the Transfiguration we can become more like Christ and help us to see the glory and the blessing even in the times of difficulty and suffering.